fooled me once, so shame on you. Won't fool me twice, 'cause I see right through the oh so many lies you always tell. From the north to the east, to the west to the south, you cover much ground with your filthy mouth and your lies. Yeah, your lies.
How do you define yourself today? Are you still a naturopath, or tell us a little bit about you and your path toward your knowing today? So, welcome, Daniel. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you. How do I define myself? Well, once upon a time, I would have called myself a naturopath and a nutritionist and a herbalist and a psychotherapist and whatever. Like, I've done lots of different, as you said, lots of different qualifications and formal study. And yeah, lots of different letters after my name, but you know, that really doesn't mean a whole lot. I did work in a university for 10 years and was a lecturer there, senior lecturer in nutritional medicine. And I was working my way up the ranks. I was about to commence a PhD, and I was going to be a career academic and possibly also a clinician, until 2020 came along and I had an awakening. I think I'd been awakening for many years. I've been looking into things probably since I was, 14 or 15. And prior to that was always asking questions. I was the naughty kid at school, always asking questions. And yeah, had an awakening in 2020 and realized that basically everything I thought I knew about health and the human body was probably incorrect, and had to reevaluate everything I thought I knew. Literally went back to square one, threw everything out and started from scratch. And 3 years later, here I am with a completely different perspective on life and health and nutrition and disease and the whole kit and caboodle. Completely different perspective. And never would have imagined 4, 5 years ago that I'd be sitting here having a discussion like this with you today. But here I am.
Yeah, that's great. And you are part of the person I discovered on, the alternative media, talking about, germ theory, about what was wrong in the health community, in the health system. And it was like, oh, yes, thank you for bringing all this information, because sometimes you can feel you have some intuition, you can feel something was going wrong, and you discover people had also this kind of feeling and more. I've done many research to bring many things to light. So for this, thank you, because you have done all an amazing job, I would say. Yeah. So why not talking a little bit about germ theory? It could be a nice beginning. Yeah.
Sure. We can have a chat about germ theory and terrain theory, or whatever label you sort of want to put on these things. I first heard about the terrain theory when I was studying my undergraduate degree. I think that was maybe 2000. It's hard to remember. I think around 2005-ish. And heard about this thing from one of my lecturers that germs don't.
Naturopath, or tell us a little bit about you and your path toward your knowing today. So, welcome, Daniel. Thank you for being here with us.
Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you. How do I define myself? Well, once upon a time, I would have called myself a naturopath and a nutritionist and a herbalist and a psychotherapist and whatever. Like I've done lots of different, as you said, lots of different qualifications and formal study. And yeah, lots of different letters after my name, but that really doesn't mean a whole lot. I did work in a university for 10 years and was a lecturer there, senior lecturer in nutritional medicine. And I was working my way up the ranks. I was about to commence a PhD, and I was going to be a career academic and possibly also a clinician until 2020 came along and I had an awakening. I think I'd been awakening for many years. I've been looking into things probably since I was, 14 or 15. And prior to that was always asking questions. I was the naughty kid at school, always asking questions. And yeah, had an awakening in 2020 and realized that basically everything I thought I knew about health in the human body was probably incorrect. And I had to reevaluate everything I thought I knew. Literally went back to square one, threw everything out and started from scratch. And 3 years later, here I am with a completely different perspective on life and health and nutrition and disease and the whole kit and caboodle. Completely different perspective. And never would have imagined 4, 5 years ago that I'd be sitting here having a discussion like this with you today. But here I am.
Yeah, that's great. And you are part of the person I discovered on the alternative media, talking about germ theory, about what was wrong in the health community, in the health system. And it was like, oh yes, thank you for bringing all this information, because sometimes you can feel you have some intuition, you can feel something was going wrong, and you discover people had also this kind of feeling and more. I've done many research to bring many things to light. So for this, thank you, because you have done all an amazing job, I would say. Yeah. So why not talking a little bit about germ theory? It could be a nice beginning. Yeah.
Sure. We can have a chat about germ theory and terrain theory or whatever label you sort of want to put on these things. I first heard about the terrain theory when I was studying my undergraduate degree. I think that was maybe 2000. It's hard to remember. I think around 2005-ish. And heard about this thing from one of my lecturers that germs don't cause disease. And I thought, sure, whatever you reckon. Germ theory has been proven beyond a doubt. We have so much modern technology and science on our side to prove that germs and viruses and fungi and parasites and all these microorganisms cause disease. And proceeded to go on with my life and my clinical practice for the next probably 15, well, not 15 years, probably 10-ish years after I graduated. And in 2020, I heard some doctors saying germs don't cause disease. And I thought instantly it resonated with me. I knew it was the truth because I'd heard it before possibly, but also I had a instinctive feeling that it was correct. And I don't think that people listen to their instincts as much as they should. So they sort of disconnect themselves when they hear the truth. They have the feeling, but they suppress it, right? I think everyone has this instinct to know what is right and what is wrong, what is true and what is false. But I really resonated with that feeling. And I thought, you know what, I'm not just going to take their word for it. I'm going to go and do my own research. And obviously working at a university for so long, that was basically my job, was to go through, look at the literature on all sorts of different topics and write curriculum and then deliver it to students and practitioners enrolled in a sort of bachelor degree level programs. So I wasn't unfamiliar with finding scientific literature and then interpreting it. And like, I'm not a virologist and I'm not a bacteriologist or a microbiologist, but to me that doesn't matter, because what I do know is the scientific method. And once you know what the scientific method is, it doesn't matter if you're a plumber or a construction worker or a baker or a pizza delivery person. It doesn't matter what your background is if you understand what the scientific method is. And it's really quite simple to understand it. Once you understand what it is, you can apply it to anything. And I had a fairly well-rounded understanding of what the scientific method was, and essentially applied that to my search, looking for evidence to support the notion or the concept that germs cause disease. And I couldn't find anything. And I was surprised, but I wasn't. So initially I just looked at the whole virus sort of thing, but I still was of the opinion that bacteria cause disease. I even think there was a podcast I did once with Dr. Mark Bailey, I think maybe going back like late 2020 or early 2021, possibly. I can't remember now. It's the last 3 years is like a big blur to me. And I think at that point in time, I still thought that bacteria might cause disease. And yeah, my search led me to looking at bacteria. Couldn't find any evidence to support that concept of bacteria causing disease. Then I went to mold, right? Because everyone's on about how black mold is really bad for you. Couldn't find anything on that. And then the last thing that I looked at was parasites. So, you know, being a naturopath, parasites are like the big one. Everything's got to do with parasites. If you've got, you know, some sort of chronic disease or a gut problem or chronic illness like Lyme's disease or cancer, I mean, it's all to do with parasites. So for me, coming from that background, that naturopathic background, it was a little challenging for me to sort of look at that or change my understanding. That was probably the most difficult one for me to do. But once I started looking through the literature, it became very apparent what parasites are actually there to do. All of the answers that we're looking for in relation to bacteria, viruses, let's just call them germs, any of the answers that we're looking for in relation to germs are already published in the scientific literature. It's all there for us. We just have to interpret it through a different lens, right? And apply that knowledge to a different paradigm. So by looking at it through that different lens, everything becomes very clear. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully that sort of answered your question.
Yeah. And what kind of things do you learn from Mark, for example? Just before the beginning of the interview, we spoke a little bit about, you know, some kind of books that can help also the people, like one book in particular I have also read, named William Trebing. It was the Germ Theory.
Goodbye, Germ Theory.
Yeah, it was very interesting book. It's, I guess, interesting to begin with that. I found it easy to read. Yeah. And there are many, many. So what did you learn when what can you say about germ theory to let people understand why we are wrong, why germ does not cause disease, but what is germ, in fact?
Yeah. So a germ, as we've said, is like a microorganism, like a parasite, a bacteria, a spirochete, a virus. Well, there's all types of words that we might define a germ by. And I mean, really, if you look at it, people come at it from an understanding of the germs and bacteria and these microorganisms are separate to us, right? So we have like the human body, and then we have this thing called the microbiome, which is a bunch of bacteria and microorganisms that exist in us, but they're not really a part of us. They've sort of, they've colonized our body from the outside environment, right? When my understanding of it is that those microorganisms are us, right? So a way to look at this, because people might hear this and go, what on earth are you talking about? A way to think about this is bacteria, our microbiome, is on the outside of the body. Yeah, the outside of the body, what do I mean? The skin, the mucous membranes. So like the mucous membrane of the eye, the conjunctiva, the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the entire gastrointestinal tract. It's actually external to the human body, right? So food doesn't go in us, it goes through us. Yeah. The lungs, they're also external. The mucous membranes of the lungs are external to the human body. The ear canal, or the reproductive tract, it's all external. But because it's sort of contained and we don't see it, we think that it's actually inside us, but it's not. So that's where microorganisms live. They're the interface with the outside world. On the inside of the body, so our tissue, our blood, our fluids, that's where we have white blood cells. And, you know, if you were to look in tissue, you'd probably find bacteria everywhere. And in the blood, I've used to think blood was sterile, but it's actually not. It's teeming with bacteria. But yeah, if you think about it that way, white blood cells are on the inside, bacteria are on the outside. We don't think of our white blood cells as separate to us. They are a part of us. Same thing with bacteria. If you look at it that way, they are just the white blood cells, modified white blood cells existing on the external surfaces of the body. And we've all been taught that it is the bacteria or the germs that cause the effect. So we hear this all the time. The reason why someone's sick is because they've got bad bacteria in their gut. Yeah. Oh, I've got a disrupted microbiome. I've got bad bacteria. And then the reason why someone's healthy, oh, it's because they've got a good microbiome. They've got lots of good bacteria in there making them healthy. It's not the bacteria that makes someone sick or healthy. It's the food that they eat and the environmental conditions that they're exposed to that determine the health of the host. So to put this really simply, if you have two people, one person's sick, they have disease, and we go and take a stool sample and we look at the bacteria in their stool and we find all these bad bacteria, go, oh, that's the reason why you're ill. But if you look at what they're eating, say they're eating burgers and fries and soft drink and chocolate every day and drinking alcohol every day, what actually happens is the body's bacteria, the microbiome, changes to be adapted or optimized for metabolizing that food that you're putting in, right? So if you eat chocolate all day, every day, you're going to get the bacteria that are really good at breaking down chocolate, because that's what bacteria do. They decompose things. If you have a healthy person and you look at their diet, and again, if you looked at their stool, they'd have good bacteria in there. But if you look at their diet and they're eating lots of, fresh fruit and vegetables and whole grains, and it doesn't really matter what you eat, but we can get into that later. They're eating a healthy diet and they've got good bacteria in their gut. It's not the bacteria that's making them healthy. All that's happening is that their body is now producing, or you're getting the bacteria adapting to metabolize fruits and vegetables. So it's the fruits and vegetables that's actually making the person healthy. The bacteria is just the manufacturing plant, right? They're the recycling plant. They're the decomposition plant, right, of breaking down all the things that we put into our body. So the bacteria, they're just, they're a consequence of the environment. They're a consequence of the food that we eat, the water that we drink, the substances that we're exposed to, the drugs that we take, the thoughts that we think, the emotions that we feel. The bacteria all respond to these things. They don't cause these things. Another analogy that might help people understand this is if you went into the Amazon rainforest and you looked at the bacteria in the soil, you go, wow, look how good the bacteria is. This is the reason why the forest is so healthy. And could you take the bacteria from the soil out of the Amazon rainforest, go to the Sahara Desert, and then put the bacteria from the Amazon rainforest into the Sahara Desert, into the sand, and then come back in 5 years and you've got plants growing from the Amazon rainforest in the Sahara Desert? No. I guarantee you that it will not happen, because it's not the bacteria that create the environment. The environment create the bacteria. It's also like if you went to the Amazon rainforest, tested the microbiome of the soil, and then you came along and then cleared all the trees, and then you retested the microbiome of the soil 6 months after you cleared all the trees away, the bacteria in the soil would be different. But that's not, you don't say that the bacteria in the soil changed the landscape and cleared all the trees away. What actually happened is that you took all the trees away. With it, you took all the organic matter that would be decomposing, which the bacteria do. They decompose and break down that organic material. The climate would change. There's more wind, there's more erosion because there's no plants and roots to hold the soil there. There's no manure from animals, droppings and things from animals going into the soil. All those things determine what the microbiome is going to be of the soil, right? And it's the same with the human body. So the human body is a part of nature. We are not separate to it. So once you understand what happens in nature outside, then you can draw parallels with what happens inside the body.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I can observe many things around me, and also, like staying in the sun and stay connected to the nature from far. It's the best thing you can do when the weather is okay for you. I mean, even in winter, you can cover yourself with something hot enough and taking the sun and staying outside, sorry. But during the beautiful days we have now, I think it's the best way to get energy, to also structure our water. We don't talk a lot about that, and I guess it's some of the topics that are not really too much discussed in Europe and mainly in France. Now, I'm sometimes trying to get this to the person, to people, about water and the importance of water. And, like tap water is not the best way to hydrate yourself. But you can also find a way to turn that water into a good water for you. So many topics we can discuss about that. It would be like maybe one day of information to share because it's huge. But maybe we can focus on something very interesting also, because many young people, and young, I would say many people are trying to, work hard to go back to sport, to take care of themselves. And this is a good thing. But many wants to, feel like I'm beautiful, I have muscles, I'm trying to do many things in that way. So my question here is more like, is there a diet specific which fits better with training? What can we think? How can we evaluate the quantity of proteins, the quality of proteins we can eat? If there's something about that you want to mention, to explain, because we cannot eat too much protein. For me, it's like you can damage your kidneys, you can damage your liver, but there is much more. So, the quality of what you eat, as we spoke about that just a minute before, about microbiome, sorry. So there is many things we can share about that, but specifically, if we speak about sports and protein and diets, what can you say about that to people, so to stay healthy in that way?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic. Like, I'm sure people will hear what I'm saying about germs and go, what would you know? Because you're not a virologist, you're not a bacteriologist, so shut up, right? Your perspective means nothing. Well, if that's the case, I'm a nutritionist, and the information I'm going to share with you right now about nutrition is going to go against everything everyone thinks they know about nutrition, right? So then I guess they can't use that same retort by going, what would he know? He's only a nutritionist. Like, it's just, you can't win, right? It doesn't, unless you're saying things that align with people's beliefs and perspectives, and it toes the line. If it's counter narrative, then people will find any sort of way to criticize you or straw man you, or use ad hominem attacks or these kinds of things. But logical fallacies, I think they call them.
Yeah.
But when it comes to nutrition, it's been completely overcomplicated. Nutrition is probably one of the most overcomplicated topics out there of all the things you could possibly think of. Like, think of how many diets there are, how many ways of eating there are, how to prepare food, when to eat it, how to eat it, like keto, vegan, vegetarian, high fat, low carb. I mean, it's nuts. It really is. And people are confused, especially when it comes to sports and wanting to optimize their performance, right? And there's this notion out there that you need to have lots of protein to build muscle and do all these things. For me, I think nutrition needs a complete overhaul. Never before in the history of humanity have we been confused about what to eat? Rewind 50, 100 years ago. Like, we don't have to go back very far. If you found a native tribes person in the jungle, in the desert, wherever they were living in harmony with nature, and you said to them, what's good to eat? They go, that berry's good, that animal's good, that grub is good, that nut over there is good, that leaf's good, that thing, that frog there, don't eat that one. That's a poisonous one. Stay away from that. My point here is people knew what to eat. They ate what was in their environment. They ate what was surrounding them, what was available, what was seasonal. It was fresh. It was local. They harvested it themselves. They prepared it themselves. They ate in moderation. They ate with people that they cared about, with the other people in their tribe. They appreciated and respected their food. They were connected with their food. They were thankful and grateful for the food that they were eating. It was whole food. It wasn't processed. It wasn't refined. And that's basically nutrition in a nutshell. That's as complicated as it needs to be. When it starts getting complicated is when you don't do any of those things. So when you process your food, and I don't think you can call food, like processed food, food. It's really not. It's not food at all. So when you process it, refine it, everyone knows about processed and refined food, but we hear these sort of general recommendations about eating seasonally, for example, yeah, and people just sort of dismiss that, or eating locally. Oh yeah, okay, whatever. Local, fresh, seasonally. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Actually, it's the biggest deal, right? Because I could go on about this for hours, but I might say one point, and this might resonate with people that are listening to this. When you exist in nature, in your environment, the things that you must do as a human being to survive in that environment, you basically exert certain amounts of energy, you use certain nutrients, and I don't actually think that vitamins, as we're told, actually exist. So we use certain nutrients, we use certain amounts of energy, we sweat, we perspire, we exhale, we urinate, we defecate, right? So we're excreting things into the environment, we're losing things into the environment that the environment will give back to us, right? It's a cycle. It's not a unidirectional food chain. It's actually a cycle. So we're not at the top of the food chain, really. Yeah, because eventually one day we will die and we will go back to the soil and something will eat us. So it's just a chain. So when we're existing in nature and we're excreting and using things that comprise our body, our water and our nutrients and all these kinds of things, that goes back into nature, goes back into the soil. The trees in that environment absorb it from the soil. They create a piece of fruit and they give it back to us. They give exactly what we need to exist in that environment back to us. So it's a completely balanced system. There is no loss, right? There's not this continual loss to the point when, I'm depleted. It doesn't work that way. It's a cycle. So this is where we start running into problems, because if I live in an area in Australia and to exist in that environment, I require certain things, my body is expecting to get those certain things from the food that I eat that is coming from where I live. if I break that cycle and I then import the food that I'm eating from 5,000 kilometers away from California, for example, and it's been kept in a deep freeze for 6 to 12 months, and it's processed, and I get that food, I'm actually eating food that's designed for someone who's living in California, not living in Brisbane, Australia. So now my body is not, even if it's healthy food, my body's not getting what it needs, right? So there's an issue straight away. There's plenty more examples like this, like seasonal food, for example. Most people eat out of season. Again, nature provides you exactly what you need to survive in summer and winter and spring and autumn, because food is seasonal. When you break that cycle, and now I'm all of a sudden eating oranges that were grown in summer in California in the wintertime in Brisbane, Australia, well, now my body's not getting what it needs. Yeah. So there's issues, major issues arising, and we start getting these imbalances, and we call them nutritional deficiencies, and we wonder why. So once we can begin to understand these things and get back to basics, nutrition just becomes what it was 100 years ago. There was no such thing as a nutritionist 100 years ago. We don't need anyone to tell us what to eat.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't, no, we haven't, no, never before, never like that, never. Yeah, for sure. So it's a strange way to behave, because we always need someone external to tell us what to do. We lost that contact with our inner self and with the nature, and like this connection. And for sure, even if I cannot grow many things here in my house, in my garden, let's say, I'm choosing some fruit or veggies that are growing now, not something frozen, not something like, in cans or I don't know what, because no, maybe sometimes you can, okay, you have a stressful day, you don't have time, and okay, let's do one thing, like it's very rare. Okay, that's okay. But everyday life, you cannot eat those kind of processed food. Let's say, I don't know if we, yes, exactly, if we can call this food, but I would say many people are going in that way because it's easy. You gain many time by doing that, and I'm sorry for that, but it's well marketed, it's well managed. It's also a way, also it's just my way of thinking, but it's also a way to keep people a little bit ill, so the big pharma industry can, oh, you have this kind of illness, you have a disease, you have a chronic illness, and so on. So let the medicine do its job. You don't know anything about that, so let the people who knows do the job. We have to think a little bit about all the story. So that was just my point of view. I'm sharing here.
Yeah, I just want to sort of elaborate on that point. For me, I used to, but I don't anymore. I don't really care what the pharmaceutical and medical industrial complex is doing anymore. Doesn't really matter to me, whether what their system of medicine is good or bad, or is it malicious, or is there ill intent, or I don't care. What I care about is what are all the things that I can do for me, because the only person that I'm responsible for in this world really is me. And how do I optimize my own health and well-being? I don't want to outsource it to anybody else. So as soon as I take control, and when I say me, I'm not talking about me specifically, I'm talking about each individual person. Once we take power back over our own health and reconnect, and we become a little bit selfish, then let them do whatever they want to do. Doesn't matter, because if you don't have to be a part of the system because you never have to enter into it because you don't get sick, then it's fine. They can do their drugs and their whatever. That's cool. It's good to have it there. Like if you ever had a car accident or something, or you're out in the garden and you chop your toe off. I mean, there is a place for it, right? But we shouldn't be needing it for conditions that are caused by a poor diet, a poor lifestyle, and a lack of belief and thinking emotions that don't serve us. Yeah. So those things we can control. And once you pay time and attention to reconnecting with nature, essentially, living more harmoniously with nature, then you don't need that sort of type of pharmaceutical medicine. So yeah, let them do what they want to do. I think there's a lot of people now in the world who are realizing this, and it shows because people are becoming more interested in regenerative agriculture and sustainable farming practices, and not using as much herbicides and pesticides and things, and living sustainably, living within our means, not trying to existing like nature exists within modern society. It's actually the other way around. We just exist. We survive in nature. Yeah. And once we understand that and we reconnect to it, I think a lot of our issues are going to go away. I'm not saying we have to go back to living like cavemen, but let's look at how our grandfathers, grandparents, grandmothers, even our great-grandparents used to live. They were much healthier. They were more connected with each other. They were more connected with the earth. A lot of them grew some of their own food. They certainly prepared it by themselves. They weren't walking down to the local takeaway store or getting some guy on a motorbike delivering it to your front door every night. And the world was less polluted, right? There was a lot less use of pharmaceutical drugs. There was a lot less chronic disease. People were happier. There was so much, life was better. Yeah. And when you hear your grandparents say, when I was a kid, life was better, you go, yeah, sure, granddad. But actually it was better for all these reasons that I'm talking about and more. So they didn't have such a bad life. Like they lived pretty comfortably. They had a roof over their head. They still had electricity. They had modern conveniences to a point. And we were existing closer to living in harmony with nature than we do now. So all these issues that we're talking about, like disease and whatever else, it all stems, the sicker a society is a reflection of how far removed they're existing outside of nature. Yeah. So my point here is, if you go and look at the anthropological studies that have been done on native tribes people around the world, they don't have disease when they live like they used to. They don't have disease. There is no depression. There is no heart disease. There's no diabetes. There's none of this stuff. They're happier, right? They're not worried about what Joe Blow said on Facebook, or, you know, worrying about what the boss is going to say tomorrow if I'm 5 minutes late for work. There was none of that.
Yeah.
Right. So the closer we get back to this and realign ourselves, the more of these societal issues they're just going to be resolved by themselves. It's really quite simple, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And let's go back to our sports topic. because we were like, everything is connected, so that's okay. But let's just
Yep.
go back to that, and let's talk a little bit about protein. And I have also another idea, so we will talk about that later. But tell me about protein. So what you can find in, you know, the grain, what you can find in the meat, and why to choose one or not, or if there's something better than the other. So tell me now, with what you know, tell me.
I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters what you eat when you want to perform, as long as the food is seasonal, local, fresh. It's a whole food. It's sourced by you. Like, you go and make a connection with the person who grew it, bring it back to your home, prepare it fresh, prepare it with people that you love. Sit down and eat the meal, enjoy it, be grateful, show gratitude, be mindful when you eat. If you do that, I don't think it matters if you. How many people are out there that swear that a vegan diet is the best for getting the best muscle gains? And then people are like, no, it doesn't. Eating carnivore is the only way to do it. And people are like, no, 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 you should do a zone diet. That's been proven to be the best way to build muscle and perform better. No, no, you need high carb, low fat, moderate protein. Like, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of different styles of eating to perform well, when I don't think it matters. I really don't. I think those things that I mentioned before are basically the fundamental tenets by which people should just exist. Because if you look at my partner, she came to me the other day and she says, look at this photo of Bangkok in like 1900. And like, she's Thai. And I was like, whoa, look at this photo. It was like dirt streets. People didn't have shoes on. It was like, but people pulling buggies, and basically none of the men were wearing shirts, but they were all like, they had bodies that men could only aspire to today.
Yeah.
Right? Men work out 10 hours in the gym a week, maybe more, like, 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Their physique was, you don't see anyone with a physique like that unless you're really focusing on it. But everyone in the picture had it. Everyone had it. Why? Right? Because they were existing in nature. They were eating what was local. They were eating what was fresh. They weren't worried about, oh, do I need a whey protein concentrate or a whey protein isolate? Am I getting enough leucine? Maybe I need more valine in my diet. Oh no, branched chain amino acids have been shown to cause diabetes. Don't want to eat too much of them. It was like, here's a fish. Like, oh, yep, thank you for the fish. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I was working hard all day in the field today. I'm so glad to eat this fish. The next night it might have been like, oh, all that's available is the green papaya salad. Oh, thank you for the green papaya salad. I'm so grateful. And they were still able to build muscle and work in the fields and do all this physical activity and have wonderful physiques. So I think once you get bogged down into the nitty-gritty, the finer details of like, what macros do I need? How much leucine do I need? How much lysine do I? You've got it wrong, right? Because food is a whole substance.
Yeah.
A tomato is a whole substance. A fish is a whole living entity. It's not the individual components that make it. It's more than that. And this is where we start getting into food synergy. Once you start breaking things down, you go, right, I'm just going to take the leucine out of this whey from dairy milk, and I'm going to concentrate it, and I'm going to put it into a tub, and I'm going to take leucine because it's really good for muscle health. That is not the way that the human body works. It's not the way that it metabolizes and processes food. Think of it like because I mentioned the word food synergy. Think of it like when you eat some food, a whole food, that food contains everything that the human body needs to metabolize that food completely, to absorb it, to break it down, to digest it, to absorb it, to utilize it, to metabolize it, to excrete it completely. Once you process it or modify it in any way, then you start to lose some of that, the constituents that make that food whole. It's like a watch. And if you open up the back of a watch, it's got all these little cogs in it, right? You can't take one of those cogs out and put it in another watch that has no cogs and expect the watch to work. Similarly, if you take one cog out of a watch and there's still the other 99 cogs out of 100 there, the watch won't work. It needs all 100 cogs for it to work. So when you start taking one particular amino acid or one particular mineral, or I'm focused on one performance enhancing aid, ergogenic aid, they call them, you are then giving the body, say you give it heaps of lysine or leucine or valine or any particular amino acid, it might need all of the other amino acids, all of the other minerals, all of the other nutrients and phytochemicals and things that are present in that food and antioxidants and whatever else for that food to be metabolized properly. If you don't give it, now the body's got to use its own stores to metabolize that stuff, and you start getting deficiencies. You also start getting incomplete metabolism of food. So now what you're eating may not be broken down well enough for your muscles to use it, right? So again, it comes back to just that really simple premise. And this is an industry.
Yeah.
Sports nutrition is an industry. Nutrition is an industry. People don't think that what I'm saying has any merit, right? Not because it's not true, but because if it does have merit and everyone starts to realize what's going on and they get back to how we used to live, everyone who makes these supplements and products and things, they're not going to be making money, right? So yeah, it's an industry driven thing, not a truth and logic driven thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to skirt around the issue. I'm not trying to skirt around the question, but this is just the way that I see it.
Yeah. And the more I dig into all those information, the more I'm going in your perspective. It's like, why sometimes, I don't know, one supplement fits for one person and the same condition another person does not fit. It's like, why, let's say, everybody knows vitamin C. Why does this vitamin works for one person and does not work for the other person? It's the same. And in the same condition, let's say. So, it's like protein, it's like, everything we have been told, we have to question ourselves, we have to question the things, the narrative, the goal, it's like, we don't have to be in fear. No, that is not at all the things I'm sharing, no, but we just have to be aware of what's going on. And if you don't participate in that, as you were telling, you are driving your own life, you are doing your own things, you are becoming your sovereign, you know, like it's my life. I'm running like I want. It's my body and it's my emotions. It's my thought. It's all my living. I am taking charge of it, the whole. And that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, yeah. And we
When
spoke
you,
yeah.
sorry, I was just going to say, when you get a moment, go into like Google Scholar and go to the images section and type in like native indigenous Australians, like in the early 1900s.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say native Australian people is because that's where I'm from. So it's just an example that I'm familiar with. And look at the photos of the indigenous Australians from even 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago. They were in impeccable shape. No one was telling them what to eat. When the first settlers came to Australia, like they documented the health of the indigenous people, the native people. And in these notebooks of the settlers and the explorers, they're in impeccable health. There's no disease. There's nothing wrong with them. Great physical condition. They all started getting diabetes and became overweight and, you know, lost their health when we started to tell them how to eat. Right? So there's the problem. There's the problem. They knew what to eat because they listened to their intuition. They knew what to eat because they were connected with nature. And when you lose that connection, then all of a sudden you don't know what to do and you expect and you rely on other people to tell you the answer. So yeah, this is the sort of issue that we're faced. And a lot of people don't like that because they've been conditioned to think that the only way I can get better is if I find the vitamin that I'm deficient in and I take that specific vitamin and then that cures my deficiency disease or the deficiency of whatever it is that I've got. I don't even think there is such a thing as a vitamin deficiency. I don't think it actually exists. I think what we have is a toxicity disease arising from incomplete metabolism of the food that we eat, right? So if you take an orange and you process it and you eat that processed orange, it can only get processed to like 97% of 100%, right? So there's still 3% that hasn't been metabolized. So now that builds up in the body. And then I go and eat another processed orange. Oh, now I get this other 3%. So it builds up and up and up and up and up. And you get these, they call them intermediate metabolites, increasing in your body. And that leads to a toxicity disease like scurvy, which we look at and go, oh, it's a deficiency disease. Because when we give a whole orange to someone, the disease goes away. So it must have been something it must have been a deficiency in something in the orange that reversed the disease. When in fact, what it was there was a component in that orange which allowed for the 3% that wasn't getting metabolized to be metabolized and excreted from the body. Now there's no toxicity disease. And this isn't me saying this. Like, this is well documented in the literature. This is in nutrition and medical journals, like from even the late 1800s. They were talking about this. Like the guy that discovered vitamin B1, for example, said it's a toxicity disease. It's not a nutritional deficiency disease. Like beriberi is not a nutritional deficiency disease. It's arising from a toxic substance due to incomplete metabolizing of food. Same with B2, same with B3, same with all these deficiency diseases. Same with scurvy, same with all these things. So yeah, vitamins, yeah, it's a big kettle of fish to open up, but a big can of worms to open up.
Mm.
But yeah, once you understand it, you come full circle and you go, the answer is to eat whole food, to eat seasonally, to eat local, to eat fresh, to get my own food and prepare it with love and time and care and attention, and to eat it with the people that I care about. And like, that's the answer. That is nutrition. You don't need any other conversations, right? That's it. It's over.
Sure. So I just can do a parallel with something I not experiencing myself, but one of my loved ones is actually currently in hospital, and that person is eating, like many processed food. It's like you don't have anyone with, I take the tomato and I cut it and you can eat it. So no, it's all processed. Versus when she was at home, I was taking care of what she was eating. And it was completely different, because now feel like she needs some supplement to be like, to feel better. But when she was home, she was like, okay, I'm eating enough. It's fresh. It's local. Exactly. It's seasonal and it's cooked at the moment. So maybe it's not the veggies from the garden, but it's quite the same, because some of the products come from a farm near a house. So it was very different. And you can feel it's completely different now. Like this person is feeling depressed, is feeling like, I won't say lethargic, but very tired. It's like also the environment where she is. I mean, hospital, healthcare is not the best way to feel good when all the people are running, or when some or others are not in shape. So, what I say. It's different, but it's a good parallel, because you can see before, when she was eating normal food, healthy food, in a sense, local, fresh, and so on. And when now she's eating processed food, maintained in temperature, and there's nothing inside, no more things, like, it's something people don't realize too much, or enough, I would say. Yeah.
Stephanie, you can't supplement your way out of a whole food deficiency, right?
Yeah.
That's the fact of the matter. You can't.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many pills you pop. You can't. What people have as a whole, they have a real food deficiency. That's what it comes down to. Like, you're a naturopath, so like, think about, supplements weren't around. They haven't been around for that long. They really only became popular maybe 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So before that, what did naturopaths do to heal people? Because we weren't using supplements, but we were still taking people with chronic disease and getting them better. And how are we doing that? Well, this is the essence of naturopathy. It is using nature to heal the body, harnessing the healing power of nature. So that's the body's internal healing mechanisms, which is all the body does, is it tries to restore balance, and using nature, being in nature, to give the body all the things it needs so that the body's natural healing mechanisms can do what they need to do. That's what naturopathy is. Like, I was reading an article yesterday, for example. I've been looking at this for a long time. So, like, You know, we were talking about there are no vitamin deficiencies. Well, there is one, and they're calling it vitamin G, right? Grounding, earthing, an electron deficiency disease. This is just one example of how we can harness things in nature to help the body heal. So we are no different to plants. Actually, we had this conversation the other day. I think that plants are actually a higher order life form than human beings are for many reasons, and we don't have to get into that conversation now. But a plant needs certain things to survive. Like you could sit down with a 5-year-old child and say, write down all the things that a plant needs to survive. And they'll do it. Obviously needs water and fresh air and healthy soil and other plants and the sunlight. And, you know, just it needs these things. Otherwise it can't survive. You can't take one of those things away from a plant and expect it to survive. Like, you can't give it water and fresh air and soil and other plants, but completely deprive it of sunlight. It will die. It's the same thing as a human being. There are certain things that we need that are essential to life. And without one or more of those things, we cannot thrive, we cannot survive. So when people come to you and they say, I'm sick, I have an illness, and really all illness is just the body trying to get back to balance. If you've got a chronic disease, it's just the body in a state of limbo, trying to heal itself, but it can't do it because it doesn't have what it needs. So someone comes to you and they say, oh, I've got this disease. What pills and potions should I take to cure myself? Well, before we go there, what sort of water are you drinking? What sort of food are you eating? How are you eating it? Are you putting your feet on the bare earth? Are you getting out in the sun? Are you breathing fresh air? Are you getting love? Do you have connection with other people? Do you have good quality sleep? What are your stress levels like? What's going on up here? What are your thoughts like? I'm only doing 3 out of those, say I just mentioned 10 things. Maybe I mentioned less. I'm only doing 3 out of those 10 things. But what pill do I need? That's all I'm here for, naturopath or doctor or whoever. Tell me the pill. You won't heal unless you do the other 7 things. You've got to do all those 10 things all the time to get back to balance, right? And then the body will heal itself. But as long as you're missing one of those things, as I said, you can give a plant everything, but if you don't give it soil, it's not going to work. You can give a plant everything, but if it doesn't have fresh air, it's going to die. Same thing with a human being. And once we realize this, then all of the other noise goes away. All the supplements, all the drugs, all the fancy technologies and the medical devices and the hocus pocus physical interventions and all these things, you don't need them anymore because nature has everything you need. And we are a part of nature. The human body is nature. There are things inside us that can help us to heal or hinder our body's capacity to heal. And one of those things is the power of the mind. So you can have all of those things we just mentioned, but if you don't believe that you can heal, then you won't heal. So you've got to have all of them, right? Plus the power of belief. If you have the power of belief and you're missing one of those other essential things, can you heal completely? Very possible, but you might end up back where you were if you don't address those things that you're not getting. So it's really common sense. It's really very simple. Health is simple. It's just not easy because people go, I can't do all this stuff. I don't have the time to do this. I got to get back to work. How am I going to play my computer games? Or how am I going to, do all this stuff if I've got to be doing this other thing? It's taking a time away from my luxurious activities that I want to participate in.
Yes, you're right. That's why people, it's changing. So let's see it in the positive way, because people are changing their mind and realizing many important stuff and things, but still some are asking for the pill, yeah, or are telling us, oh, I haven't got time for that, I'm working all day long, so I can go for a walk, I cannot I don't know what, but doing all those things, so give me the pill. No, I guess it's not the best thing you can offer your clients, doing that, because it's keeping them in a kind of dependency, in a kind of no awareness state of I don't know what, but not giving them health and wisdom and help and whatever you want to call it. But you need to help people realize they have to take charge of themselves, to be their own queen or their own god or whatever they want to call it, but they are managing themselves only. And they have to realize the power that is inside them. So yes, I'm completely agree with that. And I have seen many people, let's say, diagnosed with whatever illness it is, or disease, or sometimes very, let's say, sometimes cancer, or kind of. And those people were like, oh, sometimes I'm not feeling so good, but it's okay, I'm in health, let's say. And once they put the cancer diagnosis or something like that, people are like falling apart, you know, like, oh my God, I'm gonna die in 3 months, I'm gonna, I don't know what. It's very interesting to see how this little information given by the doctor, the people, can change. It's like a switch. It's very interesting. So yeah, I remember also this journalist when I was in Montreal. I guess her family name was Blanchette, something like that. And she went through 2 cancer. And she decided to change completely her way of living, her way of thinking. So she avoided all kind of chemo, and she go through that also with working with her mind, emotion, and so on, because all was connected. So it was very interesting. She wrote a book about that. I have to find the name. I will put all the information also in the description below. So if I can find the name of the book, I will mention it. But just to say, this is very interesting because the mind, of course, is more than important for everything. Yeah.
Well, we were talking about like the importance of protein. Well, we tried to go there. The importance of protein for performance and muscle health. There's experiments out there, controlled experiments, where people have been able to lift more weight and grow their muscles just by the power of the mind, with the power of belief, by imagining in their mind daily that they're actually at the gym lifting the weight, and they can lift more weight. Their muscles get bigger, right? You know, the power of the mind is the capstone. So all the other things that we mentioned are the lead up to get to the point where you can then harness the power of belief. Because if there is say 10 things that a human needs to survive, 10 essential things, and we understand that, if we're not doing those 10 things, we know that inside ourselves. Therefore, we're of the belief that, oh, I can't heal because I'm not doing the 10 things. So then you go and do all the 10 things. You go, right now I'm doing all the 10 things. I'm bound to get better. And then what happens? You get better. But did you really need to go and do all those 10 things to start with? Or could you just change your mind and harness the power of belief, to start with? Yes, you can, but not everyone can get there. So they have to go through that process of learning what the 10 things or however many things there are and doing them all and going, right, now I'm going to heal. And that's the thing that unlocks the power of belief, right? So yeah, you can pretty much go into the scientific literature, the medical literature, and type in any disease and put spontaneous remission or spontaneous regression after that name of whatever disease it is. And I would say more often than not, you'll find case studies written by doctors where people one day had an incurable disease and the next day they didn't. So how does that happen? A lot of that comes down to the power of belief. And like there's instances of people having cancer one day and it's gone the next after their doctor told them they gave them the cure, but actually they just gave them some salt water. In their mind, oh, my doctor, this person that in my mind I give so much credit to and I respect and I put them on a pedestal and they're giving me this amazing drug that's got millions of dollars of research and thousands of people doing scientific investigations into it, and it's the best thing I could ever get access to. That's the belief that makes the drug work, right? It's not the drug itself. It's not the herb. It's not the vitamin. It's not the mineral. It's not the acupuncture or the massage or the laser therapy or the whatever therapy it is. It's the belief that does that. And once we understand this, that really short circuits things, doesn't it? Because now you don't have to be on this long, arduous path to healing. All you have to do is change this. But to get there, sometimes isn't as straightforward as we think. And I'm on that path myself at the moment, trying to get this in better alignment, to really, truly harness the inner power that's within all of us. We all possess this. We just have to connect to it. And we have to understand how to unleash it. And once you've got that, you're good.
Yeah. And we were talking many days before about how to manifest. And I made a link because here where I'm living for the moment, let's say environment is not the best for me. And I was planning to go somewhere else. And I was like, okay, I have one option to do that. And this option does not work. So I was like, oh my God, I have to stay there for a moment, more than expected. And what I manifested is some disagreement with the people around, making noise, making, like smelly things, very uncomfortable. And I'm like, okay, did I manifest that? Maybe, because just before it was some kind of, will not say quiet, but it was acceptable, like, okay, everyone is doing his job, so yeah, that's okay. And here it was like, ooh, level up. It's just amazing when you think about that. And I'm just like, okay, be quiet. So there is more option you have to find to get the things cleared and to go somewhere else. And things are getting, like, that's funny, It's not about health properly, but the way you can manifest thing without knowing, like it's very strange to the mind to, let's say, just think about that possibility, Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are powerful. We can, I'm sort of in two minds about this. Part of me says that we can create our own reality. And we create that with feelings, not necessarily thoughts.
Yeah.
So the feeling is the stronger power, I guess you would call it, the stronger frequency. The thought doesn't have the same effect, because I could think, yes, tomorrow I'm going to make $1 million tomorrow. It's not going to come. A, because I don't believe it to be true. B, because I've got resistance to making that happen. And C, in order for that money to come to me, or whatever it is that you want, health or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a new car or acceptance into a prestigious university, whatever it is that you want, it's already there. It's already out there waiting for you. There's a frequency attached to that thing. You just have to align your frequency to that thing, and then it will enter into your reality. But as I said, it's not a thought that gets you there. It's got to be that, what does the $1 million feel? How would I feel when the $1 million is in my account? Right? Oh, I'd feel exactly like this. When you can attach yourself to that feeling exactly, it'll come, because then you're ready. But if I'm here and I'm thinking, oh yeah, $1 million, $1 million, it's not going to come because I'm not ready. Yeah, if it came, I'll probably lose it all because I wouldn't know what to do with it. Or there would be something attached to that, right? There'd be a caveat to that $1 million coming in. It might be that my parents died and they left me the inheritance, right? Which is, that's not how I want to come into $1 million, or good health, or whatever it is that I want to manifest in my life. Part of me also thinks that we may not have free will. Okay. But I still think you can manifest and create things. Life may be like a choose your own reality game. Yeah. So there might be an infinite amount of possibilities from this very point in our lives right now. There's an infinite amount of possibilities that could happen. What happens is determined by what our frequency is. Yeah, what our vibrational state is at this point in time. It opens a certain door and allows us to go through it, right? And then this is how we navigate through our life, and this is how things happen for us, not to us. Yeah. So I don't, this is sort of where another part of me is thinking about what the nature of reality is at the moment. It's kind of like we might be a receiver. So it's like your car radio. Yeah. There's all sorts of different radio stations you can tune into. You just got to tune it to that station. So you can go to this station, I get classical. This station, I get rock. What do I feel like? What do I feel like listening to? Oh, I change the frequency to the thing that I feel like. Oh, now I've got it in my reality. Yeah. So it may be that that's how we create our reality, which might be predetermined given our vibrational state at that particular moment in time, right? Might sound a little bit confusing, like there is a destiny, but there's an infinite amount of possibilities. It's just, it's like going with the flow of things. Yeah. When you get into that state of allowing things in, it may be that, you know, you accept yourself for who you are and that you love yourself, and you then change the way that you feel about yourself, and then that opens up other possibilities to enter into your life. That's really the only thing you have control over, is how you feel. Yeah, I don't have control over where the wind blows, or, you know, I have no control over the outside world. All I have control over is the feelings inside me and how I respond to certain situations. That's really it at the end of the day. And like, I've been playing around with this for a little while now, and, you know, the things that I've manifested are profound. Like, I won't go into detail about what they are, but they are profound, and it's changed my life. And I'm doing things now that I never would have thought possible. Like, I gave this example. Sorry, I'll just give this example and then I'll pass it back to you, because I know that I'm sort of talking a lot here. I experimented with this a little while ago, maybe even like 6 weeks ago. I was like, I wonder if I can just manifest things that are really easy, because I have no resistance to them coming into my life. As soon as you have resistance to something, it's not going to come. So the things that were really, I just woke up one morning, I'm like, right, I'm going to go for a walk, and I want to see a really cute puppy dog. I want to see a beautiful bird, and I want to see a butterfly. And I was like, actually, no, that's too easy. I want to see 2 butterflies, right? Because it might have just been a random butterfly. But I was kind of getting a little bit specific, and I don't think you really should be specific, because once you get into the specifics of things, then you build resistance. So that was what I wanted to see. I went for a walk, and I saw the dog, really cute dog. Almost as soon as I stepped out of the front door, I was like, oh, that's easy. A few minutes later, this beautiful bird that I've never seen before flies directly in front of me. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I've never seen that bird before. And then I was like, right, when am I going to see these butterflies? Now, I'm just waiting for them. But they didn't come, because I had intent. I was like focused on, when's the butterflies coming? So they didn't come. And towards the end of my walk, I was like, oh, that's a shame. I didn't see the butterflies. Maybe my manifesting power is not as good as I thought it would be. So I just let go of it. It's like, that's all right. I'll see them tomorrow. And I stopped thinking about it. And as soon as I did that, I allowed. And 2 butterflies flew straight past me. And people might go, oh yeah, it's just a butterfly. But up until that point, I hadn't seen any other butterflies flying around. And that's the reason why I put that thought out there. Because I'm like, I'm not seeing any butterflies on my daily walks. So if I do see them, then I'll know that the power of manifesting, there might be something to it. And yeah, that's how easy it is to manifest things. You could get to the point where you manifest anything, as long as you've got no resistance.
Yeah. And I have tried something very interesting, and it was like, it's some kind of amazing. So I have never told anybody this, only a few friends, because it's some kind of weird, but has worked. So I share. It's like I was looking at the sky, which was pretty blue, and some little clouds. And I was like, okay, let's try to make this cloud, this little one, disappear. Just focusing on, but not like, oh, I want you to disappear. No, just like, oh, let's see if I can do it. With like you know, a child would do, like, you know, with this experiencing, you know, like with joy and amusement. And I did it for a few minutes and the cloud disappeared, like disintegrating. You know, it was like, oh, that's so funny. So I tried it later. And again, like it disappeared. You know, it's like, oh, maybe it's a coincidence, you know. Let's try another time in the day. So later, I did it again. And I introduced also another information in that, like, I want it to disappear, but let's say twice or 3 times more rapidly, just to see if it was me manifesting or if it was another coincidence. And it was like it disappears very quickly. I was completely, it was like incredible, but it worked. So sometimes I try and it works. So it's only little, you know, little clouds. Maybe we can try with big one, or we can try another things, but it was just my experiment of that. Yeah.
Yeah, you just start small, right? You don't go into the gym for the first time expecting to bench press 200 kilograms. That's equivalent or akin to someone trying to manifest $10 million. From like having no money in my bank account, manifesting $10 million, it's really hard to do that for most people. Like, it's not impossible. People do it. It's just about practicing. So that's why, like you said, oh, I'm going to move this cloud. Like, it's just a small thing, or I'm going to see a butterfly, or I'm going to have a beautiful breakfast tomorrow, or I'm going to, like, just really simple things that you expect to happen in your day-to-day life. They happen because you expect them to happen and you don't have the resistance there. And once you start playing with that, you can manifest bigger and bigger and bigger things. And like, I've manifested some quite miraculous things in the last, just this year alone, some miraculous things. And it works the other way as well. Yeah. So if you're constantly focusing on things that you don't want, if you're worried about getting what you don't want and worried about not getting what you want, then guess what's going to happen? Where your energy is focused is exactly what you're going to manifest into your reality. So, you know, when you hear, the reason why I highlight this is because there's a message being put out by public health authorities, and they've been doing this for quite some time, where they're saying the rates of cancer are on the rise. You know, 10 years ago, oh, 1 in 5 people are going to get cancer in their life. And then it was like 1 in 3. Now it's 1 in 2. And now they're starting to project forward. They're going, in the next decade, 1 in 1, everyone's going to get cancer at some point in their life. So people hear it from public health authorities and people in positions of power, and it becomes their reality, because they go, oh, everyone's going to get cancer. That means I'm going to get cancer. And then you spend your whole life with this little nagging thought in your mind going, oh, I'm just waiting to get cancer. I'm just waiting to get cancer. And then one day you get cancer and you go, see, I knew it. I knew I was going to get cancer. But that's the result of worrying about getting cancer for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What you believe, you get. What you think about, you get. So what is a better way to approach things is to, if you find yourself in that negative mindset and you're constantly worrying and you've constantly got anxiety and you're thinking bad things are going to happen to you, like, you know, when you're like, oh, I've got a really bad feeling something's going to happen, and then something bad happened, you go, see, I knew it. I had the bad feeling and it happened. Well, how many times have you had a bad feeling in your life and nothing bad happened? It's just a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just that you got really good at attaching to that feeling of something bad happening The frequency's connected and the bad thing happened, right? That's all it was. If you shift your focus, anytime you find yourself thinking about a bad thing or a thing that doesn't serve you very well, train your mind to then think about something else, to think about something positive, like positive thinking, letting go of things. Someone cuts you off in traffic in the morning. Don't hold on to that feeling of this guy cut me off in traffic. Don't hold on to that all day, because that's probably going to happen the next day, right? You're going to manifest another guy cutting you off, even worse, because that's what you've been thinking about all day. Or you attract that low vibrational state and these things flow to you. So that's what I'm saying about the bench pressing 200 kilos. You can't walk in and just straight away bench press 200 kilos. What you need to do is work your way up to it. So this is how you work your way up to manifesting bigger and better things. Or how you use the power of the mind to manifest good health or whatever it is that you want. Anytime you find yourself thinking, oh, I'm never going to get better, catch yourself and go, actually, my body's amazing. My body's beautiful. My body's perfect. It has the power to heal itself. It only wants to heal. My body's always healing. My body is always looking out for me. My body wants the best things for me. And you just do that over and over and over and over again. You catch yourself every time. Maybe you think 10 negative thoughts a day and you only catch yourself twice the first time you practice this. Eventually, you'll catch yourself every time. And then eventually, you won't be thinking any of these negative thoughts. Or you might think one negative thought for every 10 positive thoughts that you have. And you flip your reality. You're in this state of happiness and contentment, and you're in the flow. You're allowing things to come to you, and life is great. And then that builds on itself, because things are just always constantly happening. Like, whoa, life is just amazing. I just love it. I'm just so happy. And then things really just start coming left, right, and center. And yeah, we're talking about manifesting or whatever, but this is true. You can harness this for anything, including healing. And I think that's how we sort of loop this back now to health and well-being. So yeah, like working out in the gym is good for your health. Eating right is good for your health, but so is working on this.
Yeah, for sure. And my best example for myself is just my nose, where I was like, ooh, did I break my nose or not? And I had a profound wound, but my nose wasn't broken. And I just helped myself healing. So I introduced also some things to help my body doing its job. But let's say the most important tool was having some rest, disconnecting from whatever was disrupting, like the media, like bad news, like the internet, and so on, and just having time for me and letting the things go the way. Also, working with the plant in my garden, like plantain, for example. So it was just like, let's do it with what is in my garden and take it easy. Going to the sun, and that's all. And nothing more. So no urgency, nothing, no surgery, nothing, not even a doctor. So don't do that if you have something. It's just my experience. I have to tell that it's just my experience that I am sharing here. So if you have something, if you broke your leg, your nose, whatever, you have to make sure you are okay. So don't do the things I have done. I'm just sharing that, but it's my best example because it's mine. And, it's like there is nothing on my nose. Only if you look very close, there is a little scar, but that's all. It's like my how can I say, my war wound, you know. Like, yes, my body did it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all you. It's no, like if you went to a doctor or a natural medicine practitioner or someone and they gave you things to heal your body, you go, wow, that doctor was really good. Like they gave me the right medicine. But the only person that can heal you is you. The only thing that heals your body is you. It's nothing else has the power to heal your body. Certainly things can assist it and things can burden or hinder it. But really, at the end of the day, it is your body. And the power of belief plays a huge role in that. And we were talking about this the other day, where I used to be a supervisor at a student clinic. And I know you've already heard this, but it might be interesting for your listeners to hear it. What I noticed was that there were some students who got way better results with their clients than other students. And it just so happens that the students who got really good results, the student clinicians that got good results, were those who were very personable. They were bright and happy and determined and focused, and they believed in what they were doing, and they had this drive and this tenacity to excel and be the best and want to really truly help people. And they exuded this energy, right? They exuded it. And they got the best results. So they might have had like a person come in with psoriasis, for example, a skin condition, and they give them X, Y, Z things to do, or supplements or herbs or whatever it is they prescribed. They gave them X, Y, Z. And then I would notice that there would be students who didn't believe in themselves, who were very reserved, they were very quiet, they were almost scared or fearful or unsure about what they were doing. They didn't believe in what they were doing. And let's say a person came in with psoriasis and they gave them the same three things. That person's psoriasis didn't get better. But the person who saw the really confident clinician, their psoriasis got better. Now, this is a good example of the power of belief. Because when you go to a clinician who believes in what they're doing, and they're like, yep, I've done this with lots of people before. When you take this medicine, I want you to take it at this time. Like, you got to be really specific. You got to be really specific, and you got to make the treatment elaborate, right? I want you to take just 2 grams of this at 6:12 p.m. and then another 3 grams at 9:14 p.m. And then, but you've got to mix it in 27 mils of water, and you've got to stir it 8 times. Because if you stir it any more than that, you start to deplete the properties of the medicine. It doesn't work so well. So you make it very specific and you make it very elaborate. And the more specific and the more elaborate you make it, and the more that you believe that it's going to work, then it works. It works better because the person receiving the advice believes it because you believe it. Whereas if you were like, oh yeah, look, you can try this thing. I don't know if it's going to work. Oh, how much should I take and when should I take? It doesn't really matter. You know, whatever. They're going to go, oh, okay, well, I'll try. Oh, it didn't work. Well, I wonder why. And this is well established in the literature in regards to the placebo effect. So we know that the more elaborate the intervention, the better effect that it has. And they've done this time and time again with saline placebos or sugar pills. in comparison to the actual drug or the actual herb or the actual nutrient or whatever it is they're giving. And really, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's a drug, a herb, a nutrient, or whatever. It seems as though it really is the overwhelming majority. I'm not going to say the entire effect, but the overwhelming majority of the effect is due to the placebo. And a lot of people probably wouldn't be happy to really hear this, especially like naturopaths, because how much time have we spent trying to perfect our formulations of creating the best herbal blend? Yeah. Like this would happen all the time in clinical practice, where students would formulate a herbal medicine and give it to the client, and it didn't really work. And then the person would come back and say, yeah, the thing didn't work. The student would come to me and say, oh, I gave this thing last week. It didn't really work. What do you think, Dan? You can try this and this and this. This is what I've done in the past and it worked. And the student goes, oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. I never would have thought of that. This is amazing. And they've got confidence in me because I've got more experience, and they look up to me and they trust in my knowledge. It's not that my treatment was any better than theirs. It's just now that they've shifted their belief. And we also know that this plays a role in the power of healing and using medicines. And this is why you have to do double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, because just the effect of the clinician knowing what they're giving the person, even when the person doesn't know what they're getting, just the clinician knowing influences the outcome, right? So again, this is all been so overcomplicated, right? All these herbs and which mixture of things do I need to take, when at the end of the day, I don't really think it matters as much as we think it does.
Yeah. And yeah, the more things are going, and the more I can observe that, because I'm keen on plants and herbs, and essential oils are my favorites. And at the end, what is essentially here, it's the energetic side, like not what the plant is scientifically doing in the body, but what she brings, or what the person, the therapist or whatever is bringing with that. Yeah, for sure. And I've tried, some plans for clients, and sometimes, it works. Sometimes it's like there is no really, there is not the, the expected result. It's like, maybe just taking that is not, it's too easy, so it won't work. I need something like, you have to change this, and after you have to do that, and like it's just simple, so it won't work. So it's some kind of weird, but sometimes people need some complicated tools, or it's like there is something more, I don't have the word in English, but it's like it will work better this way. Yeah.
This is not to say that taking substances don't have physiological effects in the body. Like when you give someone cocaine, 99.9% of people are going to get the same effect when they take the cocaine, right? Unless you're habituated to it and you need a huge dose to elicit an effect. Or say like taking ginger. Like when you take a big dose of ginger, eat a lot of fresh ginger, you get that diaphoretic effect. The blood vessels open up, you get more blood flow to the peripheries, or when you have half a lemon, squeeze half a lemon into your mouth the first thing in the morning, it stimulates your digestion. Like plants do have physiological activities in the body. So I'm not discounting that entirely, but I still think a lot of the effect is the placebo effect and the fact that someone told you to do it. But also there is a side to plants, any plant, that affects the human body in ways that we don't understand. And the ways that we've been told that they work, I don't necessarily accept. So it's like this plant has got XYZ 100 chemicals in it, and these chemicals work in this way in the body, and this is how it works inside your cells. And it binds to these receptors and it stimulates the nucleus to make these certain proteins, and the endoplasmic reticulum make the protein, and then it causes an expression of the cell to behave in a certain way. I don't think that is the way that things actually work. First and foremost is because no one's ever seen a cell in a living human being. No one's ever seen a receptor on a cell. So this is all theory. We think we know,
Yeah.
but we actually don't. We have no idea how these things are working. So are they working to heal the body from like a structured water perspective? Are they working to heal the body on an energetic frequency? Are they working to heal the body by some other unknown force? Natural therapists talk about life force. Is it the fact that we're getting life force from plants? So the plant has harnessed the energies from nature, the water, the sun, the wind, the ground, right? All these elements. It's harnessed these frequencies released by these natural phenomena, encapsulated it within the whole food, and then we eat it and we extract that life force from the food. It cannot possibly be all of the constituents in the plant that has the effect. There is more to it. Like a good example of this is salt water, like seawater. Yeah. Natural seawater harbors more life in it than exists on land. Yeah. But when humans try to make seawater, they analyze the seawater and they put all the right concentrations of everything in this. They make artificial seawater. Doesn't work. Yeah. So there is more to substances and that exist in nature than we can understand through our analysis with chemistry or biochemistry or cellular biology and all these kinds of things. People say, well, how does it work then, Dan? I don't know. Nobody knows. No one will ever know because it's not for us to know. This is a secret of Mother Nature. It's the secret of the universe. That's what makes being alive so special and so magical and so fascinating. And what we've done is we've tried to find the answers by looking more microscopically, more myopically. We look here, oh, the answer's not there, must be deeper, and look there, no, it's not there, we'll look, and now we're looking at these little cells in petri dishes and using electron microscopes and all this sort of fancy technology to find the answers, but you won't find the answers that way. Yeah. You find the answers by looking in the opposite direction. You find the answers by looking on a broader perspective, looking macro, looking larger, looking out this way. That's how you find the answers, as well as So looking out in nature this way, this is how you find the answers, but also by looking inside ourselves. And I'm not talking about with a microscope, right? Because the answers to everything that we seek have already been answered, and they all exist inside ourselves. The truth is the truth. We are all, nature doesn't lie, men do.
Yeah.
When we hear the truth, it resonates with us because we are a part of nature. When we're fed a lie, if it's a really good one, then it might trick us for a period of time, but eventually we're going to come to realize that it's actually not the truth. And that's what's happened over the last couple of years. And I believe that as we start to reconnect with the universe, with Mother Nature and ourselves, that's when we'll start to really find the answers. Now, when people were at their happiest and healthiest and most free in this realm, whatever you think this realm that we live in is, that was when we were most closely connected with nature. And that was when we lived in the moment and we didn't care about the little tiny intricacies. Yeah. Caring and worrying about the details and the hows and the whats and the whys is what's led us into this technocracy where we're all going to become digital slaves eventually, if you allow it into reality, because we've become so focused on the micro rather than the macro.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good way to end that talk, because I guess it's a very important notion. Yeah. I think it's the best way to end what we discuss. Yeah. It's a perfect word of the end.
Yeah, we've only just begun to scratch the surface. We can't solve all the problems in one session, but I really enjoyed speaking with you, and I appreciate you having me on your channel. And yeah, I'd love to have you on my podcast at some time as well.
Yeah, thank you. But it was really a pleasure for me, So yeah, let's do it another time, another topic. So yeah, my pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Stephanie. It's a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. Oh, just I need to mention that all we spoke about during the session, during this talk, it's only for educational purpose. So there is nothing about medicine, about diagnosis, no, there's nothing at all about that. If you have something, if you are ill, if you have a disease, you have to go and see your doctor. We don't do any diagnosis here. It's just information we share here. It's important to let the people understand that. And then I have to mention also, I will put all the information about you, Daniel, in after the video, so you can find your website, HUMANLEY, what you are currently doing, the hub, and so on. So it's very interesting. Everybody, if you are fluent in English or if you are comfortable with the English language, so please go and visit the website HUMANLEY, because you will find so much information. Some are free. For the other part, you have to subscribe, let's say, if I can say it that way. So it's very interesting. I encourage you to share. And if you have any question about Daniel, his job, and whatever, any question about what we discussed today, so you can ask in the comment below. So I will send the question to Daniel, or whatever. So thank you so much, everybody. And I wish you a very, very, very good day or night or evening or whatever the time is in your side. So thank you so much. Bye, everybody.